Hello, and welcome back to Down the Slope. We're recording on the back of a convincing 4-1 win, as Liam has called it, the Almondvale. It's not the Tony Macaroni Arena, it's definitely Almondvale. Hibs are really convincing on Saturday, so I assume, Harry, you're in a fantastic mood.
Mate, you ken the rules, eh? Hib's good, Harry's good. We're all at it, mate. We're all at it.
Good. Ryan, you were at the game. Did you enjoy yourself on Saturday?
It was great. It was good. It was also good to see 3,500 Hibs fans there as well. So I enjoyed it.
Liam, how you doing?
Aye, doing good, doing good. I'm glad Harry managed to get the Harry's good, Hibs are good bit in at the start. I always feel like it's not started off on the right foot unless Harry gets it in, but no, all hunky dory in this household.
Excellent. Well, look,
Hibs. Ewan, how are you getting on, mate?
I'm fantastic, mate. Two great Saturday followed up by a lovely Sunday as well. So really, very much enjoyed myself this weekend. Very much enjoyed myself this weekend. As to, I think, the displeasure of a couple of people in this chat, but never known the better team to get beat 7-0. So it is what it is. No, right. What we'll do, we'll get straight into listener questions. We've had quite a few about the Livy game, a few about Rangers, and a few about everything else under the sun. So we will work our way through these. First question we're going to go to is Mason Forest. What areas do we need to improve on in the summer? And I think this is obviously an interesting question because, you know, if you ask us before we go 7 games unbeaten in the league, we're probably listing off every position. Is there anywhere that you still think we really clearly need to upgrade in the summer?
Go back.
On both sides?
I think unless Lewis Miller gets a run at games in, I think at the moment we definitely need another one. I think Cadden seems to go with the form. When we're playing a bit better, Cadden seems to have picked it up a bit of late. Chabraya, although he's had a good couple of games, he didn't cover himself in much glory for the goal at the weekend. And I think, I'm hoping that given time he can get back to the form that we saw at the start of the season, because I guess we've said a few times there's definitely a player there. But yeah, at the moment, in my opinion, Lewis Stevenson's my number one left back at the club. And as I say, I'm happy for Stevenson to stay on moving forward, but I don't want him playing 20 plus games. I just don't think that should be his role.
Yeah, not to start off on a negative foot too much, but Liam, you were a big fan of Chabraya at the start of the season. Are you struggling to accept the drop that we've seen over the last, maybe even since the World Cup, even as well, and prior to that?
I'm struggling to accept it because I was very heavily invested in him after about eight games or so, as you all well know.
About 10 minutes at St Johnstone.
About 10 minutes at St Johnstone. I can't remember, is it Murray Davidson or someone? He put someone about 10 foot up in the air against St Johnstone, and from then on in, it was love at first sight. I am struggling a wee bit with it because he has not had a good game for quite a long time now, and he is a player who, I think every time we talk about him, I think we have to talk about the circumstances, and I think most Hibs fans will know the circumstances of his dad's passing in sort of August, September time. He hasn't looked the same player since then, for whatever reason that might be. It could be that he is his mind is elsewhere, which I think would be kind of understandable given the circumstances. I don't really want to speculate too much about why he is the way he is, but I think it's really disappointing to see, because I do still think there's a player in there somewhere, but defensively and going forward, he's not really offering us a huge amount at the moment.
Yeah, Ryan, he was sort of at fault for that goal on Saturday. Got us off. We had started slowly in the game, and then that sort of just perfectly summed up the first 10-15 minutes, really, that goal.
Yeah, it felt like a bit of a body blow, to be honest with you, because I mean, it was a very simple goal from a defensive point of view. It was a straight ball, not a straight ball, it was an angle ball right over the top, and just didn't deal with it very well, to be honest. And they didn't really have to work for it. It was one pass, and he kind of does Chabraya on the outside and finishes it. But I mean, yeah, it was a bit disappointing. But the best thing was the reaction. Obviously, we come back and we scored the equaliser quite soon after that. And what we did do well, I think, was kind of not get sucked into Livingston's way of playing. They usually make it a bit of a scrap and a battle, but we kept playing the way that we have been doing the last couple of weeks, and it was good.
Yeah, so Ryan, that takes it on nicely. So next question is from Sean Steele. Was the ball from Fish meant for the equaliser?
100%, 100%. That is one of the sweetest balls you'll see all season. I know it takes a nick on the way through, But I think had it not, it actually would have been a better pass because you see it lands on the other side of Yuan.
Yeah.
Whereas if it didn't take that nick, it would have been right in his path. I think I like those balls. See the trajectory on it. It stops it from being in the air for a long time, which obviously means the defence can't get into a position.
At the game, I absolutely thought it was total luck. But maybe that was more because of the deflection and then, like, it's behind him and he readjusts, etc. But I don't know if you've watched it, Hibs have put out that, like, alternative angle sort of YouTube thing. And one of the angles is the camera behind the goal. And you can see that it's actually looks like a really great ball from it on Elian until it gets the nick. So I think I'll be verging on the benefit of the doubt at best by saying it was a great pass for Will Fisher, or do we actually think it was a very, very good ball with Janglian?
Oh, it's a very good ball. It's a very good ball, and I say that just because we've seen him play those balls already. To be honest, we've seen his ability with the cross. Maybe not so much the ones that just sort of dip in behind, but we've seen his ability at playing cross-field balls. So I think in that way you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. His intent as well. I don't know if you've seen the angle that looks directly at him from the opposite end of the pitch, but you can see where he picks his head up, where he puts his head to. So I'm pretty convinced he's meant that.
Fair enough. Harry, next question is from Fatis Prickis. Do you have any further plans to call people, clubs, inanimate objects cowards in the near future? Inanimate objects.
I just it's one of those things that I picked up, and then I wasn't even really consciously doing it, but a few people picked up that I'd called maybe like 3 or 4 different people / businesses / objects cowards. I just think it's like the perfect insult because no matter who you are, everybody hates to be called a coward. So like, I could just imagine someone working for ScotRail and being called a coward and just getting really fucked off at the fact that they're just sitting minding their own business and some random specky dude's called them a coward on Twitter. And yeah, no, that is Prickers, don't worry. That's part of my repertoire now. It will be getting branded out here and there. I won't overuse it to kill it, but don't worry. There's more cowards that need called out for their cowardly ways coming up.
Didn't he be talking to Fatis Prickers about overusing patter, Harry? There's a guy there he's speaking to about overusing patter. Harry, I'm curious to know, do you own any intimate objects?
And are they cowardly?
Intimate objects? Is that what Fatis Prickers asked, or is that what you and asked?
I accidentally mispronounced the question, but
he was buying himself time by asking that question, wasn't he? You think he was like, who asked that question? Sorry. Intimate objects, mate.
Intimate objects. If it was Fatis Prickers that had asked, I would answer the question, but because it's you and I think it's a bit weird, so I will not answer the question on this occasion.
Right, next question. Let's go. Who will we go with? Let's go for an Ellie Yuan question, and we'll obviously go to Liam. Love Yuan, but what is his best position, off the left or centre forward? And do we think he can still improve his judgment, regards to sort of when he releases the ball, etc.?
Yes, he's 23-year-old. He can absolutely improve. Everybody can improve their decision making. I said he was a great footballer and a terrible decision maker earlier this season. I think his decision making's improved a lot from when I said that in sort of probably August, September time. I think his best position, to answer that question directly, I think his best position in this Hibs team will be off the left. I think we will see it become very difficult for him to be a starting striker when Yuan and Kukurevich are both fit. We saw the impact that those two had when they came on at the weekend. So
do you think that? Are you just saying that because of the other players? That if you were just taking him on his individual merit, striker?
I think if you're going to play him off the left, I think he needs to play quite high to get the best out of him. So is one of his best assets for me is we saw it again at the weekend, and I've said this since day one, is his ability to run in behind. He's very good with the ball at his feet and taking a man on when he's standing up the full back. But actually, I would rather he was running in behind Nicky Devlin or maybe centre backs than facing them up. But I think there'll be games where it will call for an early Yuan, especially without Martin Boyle being available. Try to think of a good example. Well, actually, the best example I can think of was League Cup semi-final from last season. Like you play your most pacey, impactful attacker through the middle in those games because you concede that you're not going to get a huge amount of possession and you look to spring them in behind. And I think Yuan will be deployed to do that. Probably not on Wednesday against Rangers because I think we'll have enough of the ball that we don't need to do that, but maybe away at Celtic Park.
We did do that against Rangers early in the season, didn't we? We sort of had Boyle and Yuan as the front
Aye.
goal, and I was at 3-5-2 that day, I think. But
I
I think
quite like the idea of that. I quite like the idea of that. But
I
it
think
means Nisbet or Kukurevich don't play.
yeah, aye. I think for me, like Yuan, I think we've probably seen post World Cup. The majority of his goals have come when he's played centrally, and I think a lot of fans get frustrated with players like Yuan. I think a lot of fans, McGeady as well. I think even McGeady in the game that he got injured, who was it? Kelly. He tried to take on the fullback on a few occasions, and the fullback had got the better of him. He'd stopped it a couple of times, and even at the weekend, Yuan early doors, Ryan, he wasn't really getting the rub of the green. And it probably wasn't even his best game on Saturday. Like out with the goals, he didn't really do all that much, but he's no shy of confidence, so he will always go at that fullback.
Yeah, I think he remains a constant threat whether or not he's having the best game. He's always got that ability, as Liam says, to run him behind, which he done for the equaliser. Having that ability is like fearful for the opposition. But I think I'll just echo what Liam says in terms of development. His decision making will get better. And Lee Johnson also said in his post match interview that he wants him to start releasing the ball early. So it's probably something that he'll start to coach into him or drill into him that he's going to have to do.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair. Harry, this has come in from one of your best mates in the entire world, Michael McCurdy. How confident are we going into the games against the Ugly Sisters? Personally, I find we've got a very decent chance of taking points against Rangers, but fairly sure Celtic will have too much for us. I mean, it's potentially quite an easy. No many teams go to Celtic Park and take points, but. Yeah. What is your confidence level out of 10 ahead of the two games?
Ooh. I think Mikey's pretty much spot on. One thing I said on Twitter that I think is true. I don't really think that the result's the most important thing out of these two games. I think that when we got battered 6-1 off Celtic, it kind of derailed our whole season.
Yeah.
That ended up spawning quite a very, very bad run of form. So for me, obviously I hate the term free hit. I don't think it is. But if we are to play against Rangers and compete with them really strongly and lose that game 2-1, 3-2, 3-1, but we look good and it doesn't kill the momentum of the squad, I don't think that's a terrible result. And if we go to Celtic Park and we keep it within 2 goals, maybe 3 at a push if we get a goal ourselves, again, I don't mean to sound defeatist, but I don't think that's a terrible result. I think these 2 games, especially back to back, if how these teams can perform against us previously, there's a chance we lose 10-1 on aggregate across these 2 games, and that's got potential for us to then lose the next 4 games after that and go into the bottom half come split. So the main thing we need to do is make sure this ship stays steady. And in short, apologies, I've kind of answered the question incorrectly, but in terms of my confidence for Rangers, I would say I'm about a 7 if I was getting points, and against Celtic, I'm honestly about a 3. But that's not being negative.
But tune in next week for us. Tune in next week for us to predict 3-0 Hibs ahead of Celtic Park. Let's just go around the table on that one. We are sort of tying these 2 games together. However, there's 10 days between them, so a lot can change between the 2. But Liam, you even said before the Livy game that you were probably more confident of us getting points off Rangers and Livy. We've taken the 3 points at Livy. Has that increased your confidence level even more for Wednesday?
Nah, it's not really. I don't think it's really changed my confidence level, to be honest. I still remain pretty confident we'll take something for the game on Wednesday night. I just think I've had the misfortune of having to watch Rangers quite a few times over the last few weeks, and I think when they've been getting results, they've been scraping them. And I just think they're due something in the league. I'm a great believer in teams being due a defeat, and I think they're due a defeat, and I think we'll hand it to them on Wednesday. I think it'll be a tight game, it'll be tough. I think Celtic's a completely different story, especially at Celtic Park. I stand by what I said. I don't really give as much chance there on that pitch at Celtic Park. I think they make the pitch too big for teams like us to come in. No, there's nothing to do with the style of football that we play, but just in terms of the ability of the players.
Drag you all over, don't they?
They make the pitch too big, and I think even if we got to half time at 0-0, I think they would find a way in the second half. I saw a lot of people. It's interesting in the back of the win against St Mirren yesterday. I saw a lot of people arguing with Celtic, kind of being commended for winning the game, but to do it in the style they did it in the second half, yesterday. I mean, they were comfortable. I know that we shouldn't be making this about Celtic, but they are. Aye, they're one of the best. They're one of the best domestic teams I've seen in Scotland.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Ryan, Ryan, what about yourself? Harry's went on a rant about how we just need to make sure we don't get pumped. Liam said, we'll probably get sad off Rangers because they're a bit shy, but we're going to get hammered at Celtic Park, basically. Go just tell me that we're getting 6'6".
I'll leave that one for you. I think Rangers are definitely there to be got at. They definitely have frailties within their team. Obviously, confidence is high. Morale's good at the minute within our squad. We're at Easter Road. Under the lights, there'll be a decent crowd there. I think we can definitely get something from that game. As for Celtic, I agree with Liam. I think they're streets ahead of everybody else in this league right now. So that'll be kind of difficult to get in from that game. Maybe a case of not so much damage limitation, but just try to churn out a half-decent performance so that we don't drop the heads going into the following game after that.
Yeah, I do absolutely agree with it. Look, I think like we've seen earlier this season that these results can derail a season, and then especially after Celtic Park, I think is a 2-week break until Motherwell at home. You didn't want to be, this entire good energy be the bubble to burst if you like going into that Motherwell game. But I personally think we will get something. I agree with the general consensus on Wednesday night. I think we're there to go at Rangers, and I agree with Liam. I think Rangers have been average in the league. Their results have been obviously well above average. It's the only game they've dropped points against Celtic, I think, since Beale came in the league. But they're really not blowing anyone away, and I think it was a missed opportunity at Ibrox when we went there just after the World Cup as well. Obviously going in, was it 2-1 at half time? And then the second half just sort of capitulated a little bit. I think at Easter Road, hopefully it's a big bumper crowd at Easter Road under the lights. I think there'll be an interesting atmosphere before the game because obviously there's going to be a lot of things planned for Ron Gordon and stuff. So hopefully that's all observed correctly. No doubt it won't be from one quarter to the stand, but I hope under the lights. Why not? Absolutely, why not? We're due. If we believe in people being due things, we're due a win against Rangers, aren't we? Then we've beat them since before Gerrard, so that was a while ago. Right. Next question. Craig Robertson, is this one of the most likeable Hibs teams? I thought this question was really interesting because is that just a phrase that gets said when we win?
Aye.
We didn't like them a couple of weeks ago, didn't
well, like that. And I don't want to like slag off Craig for what he said or that.
No, it's a great question.
Because the moment you start winning, everything's great. Everything's fucking excellent. Oh, Ellie Johan does a wee sleepy thing because he likes to sleep. Oh, fucking yeah.
People hated Jan a month ago because of his Instagram stories. Everyone hated Jan. Now they love him because he's scoring goals. Like, come on. I think likeable Hibs teams in history, I think your history would have to be quite short. No offence to the question, but your history would have to be quite short to make this one the most likeable.
As someone who works in media, I think that football teams as likeable as they're made to be by the team that promote them. I think for me, the team that was on like outside the box. Oh, what was it called again? Oh, that show we done. Was it not
inside the box?
What was it called?
The Fontaine of Knowledge, mate. You love the Fontaine of Knowledge.
Because we had their personalities on show. Like, if I think likeable Hibs teams, I think Jason Cummings, John McGinn, Liam Fontaine, like all those people, because we know who they were as people. Like one of the reasons why Ellie Ewan's getting more liked as well. He's done that Q&A, and it was just this wee kid that absolutely loved playing for Hibs, and that's just built a bridge between the fans. I
entirely understand what you're saying, but you're missing one key factor.
What?
Hibs were winning games of football.
Yeah, no, that's also true. That's also true.
And then again, the team are likeable, but to the same point as what Ryan said and what Liam said. In November, they weren't, and we've added 3 players to it, or 4 players to it, that have all come in and made an appropriate impact, but they've fought like they're on a good run, and I'm enjoying being a Hibs fan again, and I can't wait to go to Easter Road on Wednesday, and I couldn't wait for the Kelly game, and I couldn't wait for Livy. So yes, I like Hibs a lot more now than I did whenever, but to the same point, I like the team that we had in COVID. We just weren't there. We were good. I thought it was an interesting question because I do get the train of thought behind it, but ultimately, if we do go and get pumped in these next 2 games, and we just sort of stutter to the end of the season and finish sixth, then
Aye.
I don't.
I'd like them a lot more if we had a few statement victories, like a Derby win, for example, maybe a win at home against the Old Firm. These are good wins. These are great points to be picking up, but I didn't really fall in love with a team for beating.
Yeah, it has to be
but
still
Livy
there.
and
Still there for
Kilmarnock
love.
and Motherwell. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's great, but the thing for me is those big moments, big occasions. Does the team turn up? And that's still to be defined at this moment in time. Our season's still to be defined as well. We're not still in the cup, but we've got all to play for in the league, really. At least in Scottish football terms. So this team could have I think the only other thing that I'd say, just really quick on this, I think one of the most likable teams for me is just going back another year. I think when we had a big batch of homegrown youngsters coming through at the same time, we had that golden generation under Mowbray. I think that was incredibly likable for me. So these people might not have been likable necessarily as individuals for some of the stuff that happened off the pitch, but they were likable because they were relatable.
Yeah.
They were Edinburgh lads and or near to Edinburgh lads. And I just think that's a massive factor for a lot of fans too.
Can I just throw in the fact, like, they won games?
Aye. If they'd come in and been shite, the reaction would be different. But it's even characters like Boozy as well.
Yeah.
Obviously not from Edinburgh, but fell in love with the city. When he was here, just random lonesome. I mean, I remember the affection that even still now Hibs fans hold Craig Rocastle in because he was part of that team. I don't necessarily think Craig Rocastle is one of the best football players to play for Hibs, but when you talk about him, people go, "Oh, what a player he was for a season."
Yeah.
Went on to do nothing in his career after Hibs, by the way. Nothing. But he was good in that team. He was good in that team.
So, on a similar line of questioning then, and who am I going to come with here? Who's been the most critical?
I'll go Ryan.
Ryan, has Johnson won you over? This is from Billy King of the. This is for Billy King of the North. Has Johnson won you over? Me personally, I'm glad he's turning it around, and I'm now in the Johns in camp.
You know what's funny? I seen this question earlier, and it's a bit like the Jago situation for me. I've never actually openly said I wanted Johnson out on this podcast. Never, ever. What I did say is I criticised his the way he speaks in the media. So I never nailed my colours to the mast with that. So
you're continuing to sit on the fence, right?
Listen, he's winning games of football. Do you know what I mean? What you got to remember about this podcast.
That's his job, lad. That's his job. Let's pretend Greg's here. That's his job.
We've got a group of individuals that all have their own opinion. So, like, if one person on the pod has an opinion, that doesn't represent all of us. We disagree on a lot of things which people don't know about. So
you're a big supporter of Lee Johnson.
Sitting on the fence. I've got splinters on Mars.
He done this with Jago as well, eh? He didn't want to nearly close to the mast on Jago either. He didn't really give us an opinion, just sort of said, like, what I'll point out is the things that he does that are good. Like, all right.
What was it you said?
What
was it you said about Jago?
We need to be mindful of the difference between correlation and causation. I quite enjoyed that, to be fair. I did quite enjoy that. I was writing that down and I thought I'll maybe use that instead of sample size one week.
well, I don't actually think we've got a question in on Jago this week, so I just want to go on the record.
Let's not.
I just want to say I thought he had a good game on Saturday. I was very impressed with him and Egan Riley in the middle of the field, and they definitely won that midfield battle, people say. Liam, Lee Johnson.
What about him? English football manager.
Has he won you over?
Has he won me over? It's a really good question. I mean, I guess I'm someone who probably, as some of my previous partners might testify, I'm someone who's quite hard to woo. And I wouldn't say I've been won over by Lee Johnson entirely. I think
we must have done a good job then, on that one episode. One episode, we're here forever.
I know. I said last week he should get to the end of the season. I still stand by that. I think he's the run of form that's followed a really bad run of form has been good enough that he should get to the end of the season. I think we should assess his performance at the end of the season. Because I think it's very easy to be full on with the praise when you're winning, but I think it's also very easy to be full on with the criticism when you're losing. When you're winning games of football, it feels like you're never going to lose, and when you're losing games of football, it feels like you're never going to win. So
emotions we have definitely felt this season.
100%.
I think I would go to say that I'm 95% of the way there. I'm absolutely not saying he should go or anything. Like, I mean, like, I'm 95% fully flipped. Like, what is it? You would need to be 180 degrees. I'd say I'm at about 170 now. I think if he can go and get a good these next two games, like Liam says, you're talking about statement victories and stuff. I think there's going to be some opportunities between now and the split to really do that. And if he can, then I'll definitely be fully on that sort of Johnson and side of things. Harry, just give us your thoughts on Lee Johnson as well just now.
I just want to openly say I don't at all regret saying I wanted him out. At the time, I think he made. I think the run that we went on that was very bad. I think was predominantly down to him and poor decision making. I think since then, to be fair, he's got players that he brought in that he said would make a difference that he's utilised well, and he started putting players in their correct position. So at the moment, like I'm either I want someone out or I don't have a stance on it, because I think being in is a bit of a weird thing. You should always back the club as much as possible until you don't. So for me, I'm no longer Lee Johnson out at the moment, but that's assuming that he continues to make the right choices. Because as I've said, I'm more than happy to be proven wrong time and time again. If Lee Johnson ends up being the best manager in Hibs history, I will happily have egg all over my face. But yeah, at the moment, if he keeps doing what he's doing and gets positive results, then great. But the main thing people
will that come from one of the intimate objects?
Indeed, it will, mate. Right?
Mate, I was so close to saying that. I was asking what kind of egg he wants on his face.
Oh, crikey! But there's one thing to be wary of as well, is people are saying, "Oh, recency bias is why people wanted Johnson out." Recency bias then would be why people want Johnson in. Like, it kind of goes both ways.
Aye.
Yeah, if we get through the two next games with good results, I'm confident that he'll have a lot of fans on side.
I heard it was a listener's question on another Hibs podcast, and I think it was probably Long Bangers, but I might be wrong. Where the question basically started, it wasn't really a question or a statement. He basically said that anyone who called for Johnson to go out is an idiot because of the run that we've been on, like, or called for Johnson to lose job is an idiot. And I think what that fails to recognise is actually assessing something from the beginning point to the end point and looking at progress. And there wasn't really, if you're being honest, up until really early January, there wasn't really any signs of progress from the beginning of the season. And therefore, I think it's fair. Johnson's a new manager, has zero credit in the bank as well with Hibs supporters based on how he started his time. Getting knocked out of the League Cup in the group stages, that's on him. It wasn't really on anyone else. I know you want to maybe blame someone else who's employed by the club, but that was on him in terms of our lack of preparation, how we started, some pretty underwhelming results really from the Celtic game or Dundee United game onwards. So I think to call our fans idiots because they're making an honest assessment based on what they see is harsh, especially where we've been with previous managers and them being sacked before they should have been sacked.
I think now if you take it, maybe even if you were to take the league purely the league form, then you would have to say absolutely there has been progress.
There is now.
We are ahead of where we were this time last year, but to the same point, it's now just seeking that consistency because Hibs could have been. We could probably be in about the position we are in the league with a pretty good level of consistency. It's just been so high to so low to so high again. Harry, this is maybe going back to your confidence levels. Kev Wilson, if we presumably lose both games against Old Firm, would that totally derail the form going into the last four games, or do you reckon we could then pick it up immediately? By the way, I do think we're more than capable of taking something against Rangers on Wednesday. That's sort of what you were touching on with the confidence level, that you don't, maybe a little bit worried that if these go wrong that we then can't pick it up again.
It's like realistically, I think the teams that we're playing will be very different to the teams what they would have looked like a few weeks back. Like Motherwell and Dundee United are part of those games, and they've changed managers. Motherwell looked really good since Kettlewell's taken charge. But yeah, as I say, I think the main reason that our season got derailed was we got very unfortunate against Dundee United with some dodgy refereeing decisions, and then the Celtic game just seemed to take every bit of wind out the sails. There's a nice wee cliche for you, Liam. But yeah, I like honestly, performance. I know it sounds stupid as a football fan, but if we get beat both of these games, I don't care as long as we show that we're competing. Because the main thing for me is we need to be competitive, especially in home games against Celtic and Rangers. Like realistically, they've got like 100 times the budget we've got. 9 times out of 10, just based on resources, they should be beating us. But there's no reason why we shouldn't put up a fight and show and put our stamp and personality on games against them, in my opinion. And that's the type of thing that will keep momentum going, regardless of whether we win, lose, or draw.
Liam, do you think, whilst, and I do agree with what Harry's saying, or Ryan, both of you, what Harry's saying is valid, but as the fickle football fan that we all are, if we do perform well but don't get what we want against Rangers, but Hearts go to Celtic Park and take something, does all of a sudden our enthusiasm levels drop right off the back of one result because you're thinking, oh, Fudge maybe not into that gap. Oh, now all of a sudden we've not got a game in hand over Aberdeen and that's only, you know what I mean? Does it almost depend on as much as the other games as what Hibs do?
Fuck the performance, I want the points. Nah, fuck the performance. I don't give a fuck. If we get 6 points and play terribly, I could not give a fuck about the performance. It's a results business. Like, it's not a performance business. I understand what Harry's saying, particularly when it comes to the game at Celtic Park. I do understand it, but I take the points every single time.
Just to confirm, I would much prefer points to performance, but I'm just saying in my hypothetical situation where we get beat, I'd much rather have a good performance and get beat than be shite. Just to confirm. Always would take the points, just to confirm.
2-1 nils, 2 97th minute own goals from their team. Probably, who would I pick to get a Rangers own goal? Morelos. No, McGregor. McGregor own goal.
Hits the post, hits the bar, then hits the back of his head.
Comes back off his big raging forehead. And
he's one of the intimate objects.
And there's not really anyone. Probably Joe Hart for Celtic as well. I've never really liked Joe Hart. It doesn't strike me as a very genuine sort of person. Sorry, Ryan, you go.
No, I'm absolutely for points over performance. See these people that harp on about style of playing that, man. Points. I would watch fucking
the
Sam
episode
Allardyce football.
Podcast title has absolutely changed.
I would watch Sam Allardyce football if it meant that we got European football every year. I wouldn't give a shit.
Do you think there's merit to what I said around a lot of the thing? Momentum and stuff will depend on the other results in the league. Anyone? Nah,
I don't know. I think you've just got to go out and do your own business first before you start to worry about anybody else's performances and results. To be honest with you, but I suppose
you don't need to worry about their performances. You just need to worry about how they get the points.
I know, but I've heard Harry go on about it so much. It's in my head now, man.
Thing is, for me, I know it almost goes back on what I said, but if you win 38 games out of 38, you win the league. Like, if you do your own job and you do it well, then you don't have to care about anybody else. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on your point there, Ian.
All right, Greg.
Really glad you cleared that one up. No, right. Archie's asked, with us pushing for Europe for the first time in 5 years in front of fans, is the feel-good factor slowly coming back again? I think it's obviously important that he's said there around it being in front of fans, because we're all on record, I think, of saying how that COVID season almost feels like it wasn't as good as what it was. Because we weren't, well, doesn't it? Almost it does. And they feel as good as what it was.
Mate, imagine that Christian Deutsch goal away at Aberdeen if all the fans were there. That would have been absolute carnage, by the way.
Yeah, is
it's into that end as well, wasn't it?
Okay, it was like, would have been knee slides in front of the crowd and that would have been insane.
Nah, it would have been scenes like.
Stevie Malin last minute penalty at St Johnstone away. Oh yeah, get involved.
I was just going to stay there, Ewan. I think you just need to look at Saturday with the big crowd there and the celebrations with a couple of the goals, and obviously afterwards there is a bit of the feel good factor maybe coming back.
See, that's Stevie Malin penalty. Sorry, totally going off this question. See, Harry talks about that second Stevie Malin penalty. That was the second podcast episode, I think, after that, and I think we titled it "All Aboard the Title Winning Train" because we were 9 for 9 at the start of the season. I think we might have been sitting top of the league because we beat Livy, beat Kelly, and then beat St Johnstone.
I'm most glad about for the COVID season. Didn't get to see Dre Wright and Melka Hallberg start up top against Celtic in the last game of the season. I'd love to have been there for that. Like,
oh Christ, me and you can't remember that one because we got that drunk during that. Oh, yeah.
I was just 12 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday. How can you not remember
it? We
were drinking for about 11. Like, to be fair, like. And then we drunk until about 11. Well, I drunk until about 11.
It was someone's birthday. It was someone's birthday, and then we went to the pub afterwards, and then everyone... Was it a Saturday, Liam? I thought it was a Sunday.
I think it was a Saturday.
Aye, it rolled in from the morning into the similar time on the Sunday.
But just sorry, we kind of like stamped all over what Ryan said there. Ryan, you were spot on. Just obviously I wasn't at the game, but from
Fuck the
watching
Latvians, man.
from watching
Even
fans
you, handsome.
celebrate, it did seem class. It's the type of reason why you go to these away games and stuff. So that did seem top, mate.
Yeah, I think I seen a tweet saying that like if you can go to away games, then they are absolutely you definitely should, because they do give you that sort of connection, maybe more than a win at Easter Road does. Maybe it's a little bit more intimate potentially, in a packed out away end. And it does have it. It does provoke.
Feels like more of a day out as well. Like it's that day out factor. Like no matter where you go, even if it's just Olivia, which is only 25 minutes away from Edinburgh, really, there's something extra about it. Definitely.
Are you ready to
There are
cringe?
some better away days than others. Oh, here we go.
It's the sense of adventure.
It's the sense of right.
Behind enemy lines, as the ultras keep on saying. Behind enemy lines. In the Amadale shopping centre, behind enemy lines.
In the section behind enemy lines, man.
Fucking hell. Find that film Behind Enemy Lines. Anyway, I just want to give a shout out to Craig McCurdy, who I was sitting in the same stand as you, Ian, right? Craig McCurdy was behind the goal. I spotted him, and there he is, flipping me the bird, eh? Trying to be my mate.
Good man.
Always said that Craig's a prick.
Your sister, Harry, she gave me a wave, but not Craig. Flipping the bird.
Martindale bastard.
I cannot remember who sent this question in, and I've not bookmarked it, but it was something along the lines of which Hibs players getting linked to Rangers before Wednesday night.
Oh, I've seen that as well.
Rangers to swoop for Ellie Yuan and just say whatever Hibs have got agreed to pay, we'll treble it.
I think it'll be Rangers to swoop for Hibs captain David Marshall to solve goalkeeping woes.
I reckon we make it a bit more like a Cluedo game. So I reckon it is.
Just answer the fucking question.
Barry Ferguson in the Daily Record suggesting that Rangers are swooping for Ryan Porteous because he's not kept up with Scottish football and got it wrong. So I reckon Ryan Porteous is linked with Rangers by Barry Ferguson. There you go.
Ryan.
Darren McGregor, technically still part of the squad, isn't he? And Rangers are a bit weak at centre half, so.
Aye. Right, Jeff Ashton, starting Izzy on Wednesday or keep the same team. Personally, I'd start him and probably drop Matthew Hoppe. I would.
Can I just chime in on that? Bex sent a similar question, and she'll kill me if I don't say it. So Bex said, "Who do we start out of? Nisbet, Kukarevich, Hoppe, and Yuan." So same question essentially, but who out of the four strikers would we start?
Does Bex no listen? We got asked that question last week.
Well,
tell your sister to start paying attention. We got asked that question last week.
No, I can, but she said on Wednesday, so she was specific to this game.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I apologise. I'll get back in my box. Sorry.
Just cut that bit out.
I think we're going to change formation for this game, which I'm not all that excited about. I think we're going to go 3-5-2. And I think he'll start Nisbet and Yuan through the middle with Stevenson and Cadden as wing backs. Joe Newell will come into the middle of the park and Egan Riley will play at right centre half.
Sounds all right, to be fair. Sounds all right. I'd probably go Nisbet up top in some form because I noticed that Hoppy's added something different, but his hold-up play isn't on point. We need that focal point up top.
Aye. Nisbet for Hoppy. That's a smart move.
What? And I don't want to be critical here because again, I thought it was actually all right on Saturday. Would anyone have any question marks over Ewan Henderson playing in a game like this?
Depends who's available. Sorry.
I'm just thinking, Liam, you've said about would you be thinking Yuan off the left and Nisbet through the middle, like obviously Henderson sort of leading up off the right hand side.
Aye.
Would you be comfortable with him there? Because we don't really have another option unless it
with
was
no other option.
Aye.
It wouldn't be my first choice playing Ewan Henderson on the right, but don't really see what else we can do. I'd hope we'd maybe get Newell back potentially, or even Doyle Hayes would help us in that kind of game. It doesn't sound like either of them are too close though.
When they talk about injections, I never really care what they mean. Is it like pain-killing injections? Well, like
Like cortisone, aye.
Could be anti-inflammatory or pain-killing or both. Or yeah.
what about you, Harry? Answer your sister's question.
I would
And James.
start out of those 4 players. I would start for this game Nisbet and Yuan, and I would start the exact same team as we did against Livingston, but I would play Nisbet instead of Hoppy.
Henderson keeps his place on the right-hand side of the front three then.
And my mentality in this game, which Lee Johnson said that he would kind of go into these games with, I would like to see us play to outscore Rangers. I think that we should do damage limitation at the back with Jago starting, and then I think we should keep the same front three and just try and attack them. So
We should try and score more goals than the
centre-back.
opposition.
No, but like I think we should go in with, go in with the mentality of like
Make
if they score 4, we'll score 5 type. Not if we'll score 2 if they score
It's
1.
better than the mentality if they score 4, we'll score none. Like, fair enough, it is the right mentality.
But then if they score 4 and we only manage 3, that's all right though because we played all right.
Exactly. Spot on, mate. You're getting me. You're getting me. You're making sense.
Where's Lonnie
I'm so glad I'm not Mike Bassett anymore.
Where's Lonnie Urquhart? Come on.
Right, Dan Taylor, what minute did Rangers get their penalty on Wednesday night? I'm going to say they're not going to get a penalty because Porteous isn't there to get vilified.
No, we've still got a penalty, 76 minutes.
Liam, anyone else?
The 16th minute.
Fuck it, we'll make it a wee hang. Whoever gets closest. So 16:76. I'll take 3, 3rd minute.
Wow.
I'm gonna say Uno reverse. I reckon Hibs have got the refs in our pockets this season. I reckon Hibs get a penalty in the 52nd,
Harry, man.
and Rangers get a red card in the 63rd. There you go.
If we're going off Liam's due stuff, then we're due a penalty against Rangers after the handball on Ibrox. Next question in relation to Rangers, Dave Graham, is this game a great chance for Marshall to get his save percentage up?
Yeah.
No, because Hibs will be absolutely dominating the ball. No, you'd think so. You'd think Rangers will, but regardless of what we say, Rangers are still a good team, especially at this level. But I think we'll be okay, but I think Marshall, did he have one shot to save at the weekend, and didn't he? If we're talking about save percentages again, it is that. I think is it Pine Bovril that tweets out the save percentages, and I think he's the only sort of Premiership keeper that's the starting goalkeeper that is below 60%.
I think even Joel Pereira was above 60% when he was at Hearts, so it's not great in terms of that percentage number, but it is just one measure. I think a huge amount of it is what kind of shots are the team giving away. As the XG versus the XG expected versus XG actual. For those people who enjoy the XG statistic, I know it's not for everybody. Always have to caveat that. I think is another measure that can be used. It's maybe a slightly more accurate measure as well, just given it actually takes into account the kind of chances that you're conceding.
Yeah.
So for the weekend though, would it have just been 100% of Livingston? Did they have any other shots on target?
Mate, I might be wrong, but I don't think they had another shot on target.
That's it. Like from in my opinion, that wasn't a savable shot from Marshall. Like as much as the defender wasn't great, that was an absolute fucking screamer. Like.
I might be wrong. They might have had a couple. I think maybe a header for a corner.
He's not beyond criticism. There's definitely games. Definitely. I mean, the Celtic game comes to mind. He should have done better. But I don't really remember him making any egregious errors. I haven't watched them this season, other than the Celtic game.
I think the two that you have mentioned. I think probably the first goal as well at Tynecastle probably could have done better with as well. So I just pampered.
That's not an egregious error though. No. So could have done better with it. An egregious error is different. Whereas I actually don't think Matt Macy really made many egregious errors. I just think there was a huge number of shots that he didn't save that were very savable, is my opinion. And I think, to be honest, look, I'm not going to use this to debate something I've already talked about in our chat, but there's a reason Matt Macy went to Luton Town and was their third choice.
Reggie now Portsmouth for Shan, isn't he? League 1, League 2. Kevin Wilson, second question. With another of the Hibs podcasters going viral for his dance moves on Saturday, which one of you would win a dance off amongst yourselves, and will you offer a challenge to other Hibs podcasts? That was a good wee clip. Was it Liam?
Yeah, it was
Aye.
Liam.
The
Aye,
Hibs
fair play,
rebel,
Liam.
who would win a dance off?
I'm fucking terrible at dancing. Terrible.
You know, I'm
Dreadful.
like the bionic man, so like I've no chance. Say my screws would pop out.
See, so this is where I was. I was like, I am a bad dancer, but I always like I'm happy to dance.
I try, but I'm just shy.
Which I think makes it worse for us, if we're being honest. Like,
I actually look
Harry,
like I'm
aye.
trying though, which makes it worse as well. Like, I look like I'm
like
really
thinking
making an
about what
effort.
arm movements you're doing and that.
Aye, that's my biggest problem. Like, I'm not the bionic man in terms of my structure, but I do look like I'm basically being controlled by a remote controller when I'm dancing.
Like when football players get told they're 2 steps ahead, you're trying to think 2 steps ahead for what the next bit of the beat is. I think Harry would win it. I think Harry doesn't give a fuck.
You're quite out
For
there,
me,
Harry. Yeah.
Like, see, like I'm not the best singer, but like with karaoke, I reckon I'll do it the same as I'll do my dancing. I don't sing on karaoke, I perform. And I think if I was to do a dance off, I don't think I would dance. I think I would perform, and I'd win the hearts of everybody that was judging. So yeah, I'd happily volunteer myself to dance off against Liam. It would be a privilege.
You are on one tonight, Harry.
By the way, if the question was who would win on karaoke, I think the only person I've not heard in the podcast properly get loudy on a night out of that is Ryan so far, and I think we would take on any Hibs podcast if it came with karaoke singing.
Smash it.
Especially Mr. Fogarty there after some of the videos we got sent to the summer phase holiday. That was
some channel on me.
when we
Some
speak about
channel.
performing, that's a man that takes it one step beyond.
Aye, some
A crowd
channel on me.
pleaser as well, Liam. That's what I respected, mate.
I like to
You're
work the crowd.
demanding it.
I like to work the crowd. I'm quite comfortable in the karaoke stage. Give me a karaoke. My trouble is I can't actually sing anything that's not karaoke because I can never remember the words. It's a real flaw.
Right, last few questions before we wrap up. It's been quite an enjoyable one tonight. John McIntosh, he's got 2 questions here. How likely are we to finish in a European spot? I'd say right now, I'd say very likely.
Aye.
Because you're talking top 4 or top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Highly likely.
High likelihood.
Is it?
Yeah.
And when you look at the teams below us, nobody's on form. You know, we are out with the top 2. We are the team that's on form in the league. Obviously, we've got a tricky couple of games coming up, but Aberdeen are still a bit hit and miss under Robson. St Mirren are starting in. Livy, I mean, not much has been said here. Livy have been. That's them had their pants pulled down 3 or 4 times in the last few
games. That's 4 defeats on the bounce, mate.
Yeah, they've slumped. Like I think they're trying to play in a way that doesn't suit them.
No. So right now, as it stands, I'd be pretty damn confident of Hibs being 4th, maybe 5th, maybe 3rd. You know, I'd like that. I think we're about where we deserve to be right now, and I'm confident that we'll keep that up between now and the end of the season. I don't think any team out with Celtic or Rangers will go on a one defeat in the remaining 11 games sort of run. You know what I mean? Like, I think it'll be pretty hit and miss for the majority of teams. What about anyone else got any contradicting opinions there?
I'd put us on 70% chance at the moment. I think I don't know if that's being too generous, but I'd say it's likely. Based on everything we know at the moment and based on the games we've got pre-split, I think we've got a good chance.
Yeah, I'd fancy one of Celtic or Rangers to win the cup as well. To be honest, I think that's probably an even higher likelihood of us finishing in the top 4.
Yeah.
In terms of just bookies percentages, I would imagine that would be higher percentage. So you say top 5 gets us in. I think we'll be 4th or 5th at the end of the season.
Honestly, I know we don't want to get carried away or anything, but it would just be so good if 3rd place ended up with the same reward as last season and we managed to do it. Oh, it would honestly make my year, regardless of what else happens this year. Or just like after listening to every single man in their dogs wax lyrical about them this season and how far ahead they are and how Europe's going to allow them to just push on and be miles ahead. They're going to take them to another level. How they're going to Robbie Nielsen and they're going to challenge for the league in that. Mind you, said Hibs have been saying they're going to do this and that. Just to be in there after the. Oh, fucking knobber. Anyway, what we're having for dinner, Jack also asked. No, Jack.
It's not John, though.
John, sorry, John. It's because I've got Jack on my screen for last week's questions. John, John wants to tell me what you're eating, Harry.
I'll go first. I've found this recipe for a one-pot wonder, and it is sensational. It is essentially just a bunch of different random things. It's like coconut, like the sauce is coconut, but it's like chicken thighs, chorizo, rice, and then just an assortment of other bits and bobs. I've got shallots in there as well. Shallots. If you say shallots when you're being fancy, eh?
Shallots. I get shallots. Like
just an onion, mate.
Throw a wee bay leaf in there as well for some nice scent to come out of it. It was good. It's good. I'm excited for it.
Ryan, what about yourself?
I think it's lasagna tonight.
Lasagna.
Yeah, I think so, my man. Nicola's just come in, so she'll be getting that ready now. She's a good lass. She's a good lass.
I'm having what am I having? Tikka masala we're having tonight, I think. Right, tikka masala. And I think before on here when I've had a tikka masala, had a realisation mid-podcast that we never had any naan breads. So I've absolutely made certain that we have naan breads in the night. And I can actually smell it getting cooked, so that's why we're wrapping this up fucking pronto. What about yourself, Liam?
I made a first bash at making my own steak pie last night. I've never made my own. I've always just bought them in. So we're reheating that for dinner tonight. Because I made enough probably to feed a family of 15 at least.
Was it successful?
Aye, very successful. Very successful. She enjoyed it. So there's nothing better than on a Monday night just reheating the Sunday night dinner, because Sunday night dinner's always a good one, isn't it?
Aye. We what did we even have? We ended up getting a Chinese because we were both rough as fuck on yesterday, so there was nothing to reheat, unfortunately. And right, we're going to wrap up on something different. Fattest Prick has asked us. It was the second question we came in. Why not Hibs? Why not? Absolutely, why not? Harry, don't tell us because we need good performances and not points. No, why not Hibs? Why not 3 points on Wednesday night? We will be back next Monday, I think, not so much reviewing the Rangers game, that'll be well and truly past, but looking forward to Celtic Park. And then, do you know, if any real topics of discussion come out, I'm sure we'll have an up the slope in there as well at some point in the not too distant future, which seem to be being very well received. Liam, it is your baby, but we're sort of open to suggestions for if people think of any topics that they want maybe a more in-depth chat on.
I think we've got a couple that have come about tonight, so I think the next one's going to be on Harry's intimate objects that he keeps at home. And then we're going to have a performance, a podcast dedicated to performance or points. Which would you rather have? Which we think will be a very short episode, probably last about 30 seconds of me shouting over the top of everyone, telling them that points is all that matter. But if you've got any other suggestions, feel free to send them in.
Die to get 3 points.
Yeah, fucking die to get 3 points. Fucking die.
And on that note, we will leave yous for another week. But thank you very much for listening. If you're still with us, cheers. Goodbye.
See ya.
Garbage.